Okay players, the big showdown awaits. Are you ready to enter the Dark Citadel? Yar, we could be sneaking round the back and cutting their throats before they even know what's happening.
1 hour later.
I say we dress up as washerwomen. A completely unique, original scheme.
1 hour later.
But hear me out. What if this is exactly what the big bad evil one wants us to think?
1 hour later.
Hey GMs, I've been there, sitting watching helplessly as my players debate round and round and round, drinking more and more of the overplanning poison. Luckily, I found some solutions to this, including a house rule to help players come up with good plans fast, and not to worry about finding a perfect plan for every situation. I'd much rather have 10 okay plans than one that's been thought out and puzzled over for the entire game session. The only correct answer for how to get into that citadel was, of course, to dress up as washerwomen. Even dark citadels need clean laundry, and if the tone's right for the campaign, I'd frankly be disappointed in any party that didn't make that choice. First things first though, a quick reminder. When we're playing games together, we are playing. It's a friendly, social thing that we're doing for fun, and nobody wants to feel pressured. We as GMs tend to shy away from forcing decisions, and often just let the conversation carry on. The trouble is that before you know it, hours have passed, and the players are no closer to deciding what to do. The nutritious, delicious, and very orange over-planning poison is made from 3 key ingredients: lack of real-world urgency, every decision having to be a democratic one, and in and out of character hesitancy. Let's tackle the urgency problem first. Whether they're aware of it or not, players will have different priorities to the GM and won't have their eye on the clock in the same way. It's often the GM's task alone to end a session on a satisfying break in the action or point which feels like a natural end to a chapter. You get a sense that players are going to drink from the lovely pretty bottle with a skull on it, but knowing how to stop them is a trickier challenge. Once you've established the situation and the stakes that the party have to plan for, here is a script to follow to keep everybody right. I'm going to wander off for 15 minutes and make some tea for everyone. If you've got any questions about the stakes or the environment, speak now or forever hold your wished, okay? The bits about making tea and adding a sprinkling of Scots are of course both optional, but giving a last chance to ask questions and setting a time limit is what makes this ultimatum work. Physically leaving the room helps too, so no one can set you back to step 1 with further, potentially irrelevant questions. To up the stakes even further, you can mix real-world and in-game time limits together. The pirates will open fire on you in 10 minutes in real time, whether you have a plan or not. Something that works well for me in long-form campaigns is ending a session at a point which is going to need a plan in order to continue. The players can figure things out between sessions via group chat rather than waste precious time at the table. The Republic of Thieves lies before you. Camor will be full of adventure and peril wherever you choose to visit first. Let me know by Wednesday if there's anywhere you'd like to visit in the city. Maybe the Catchfire District or the Shifting Market might be of interest. Blades in the Dark has a brilliant solution for avoiding planning altogether. There's no time spent planning at all. You start the game in the thick of things, and there's a flashback mechanic which lets you say, oh, by the way, last week I set up a rope underneath this window so we could escape. When you think about it, TTRPG adventuring parties have an odd dynamic. It's rare for groups in the real world to make every single decision a democratic one, whether that's families, in a work environment, or even among groups of friends. I'm not saying that one player should be in charge of everything and steamroll all the others. That's how you end up on one of those Reddit horror stories. But it's worth thinking about this. Faster decisions get made when there is a clear leader. Can the group appoint a leader for different situations? It's not unusual to have a face for social situations, so why not say that the party ranger gets the final say in all survival decisions? Why not leave the verdict on decisions relating to the arcane to the wizard? Yes, they might not make a perfect choice, but will an epic debate among the party actually lead to a different outcome? Most of the time you'll find that groups go with their first idea anyway. In many situations there will be a temptation for the loudest player to be the one to make the final call, but I would recommend giving the final say to the quietest player. While the others are talking about all the options, it'll be the quiet one who's listening most carefully and is most likely to have the strongest plan. In early versions of D&D, this was a formal role at the table. The caller would be the one to communicate the group's plans to the dungeon master. Maybe it's time to reintroduce it again. I came across the concept of the caller thanks to a Gnome Stew article. There's a link in the description. Fundamentally, players are afraid of making the wrong choices for their characters and having them die, which is understandable. They've put a lot of time and thought into them. As GMs, we can help reassure our players that their characters won't die because of a single poor decision. It's likely to be a series of bad choices doubled down upon, which will kill them.
Yarr, I want to seduce the dragon.
Are you sure about that? If this goes wrong, you will be literally and figuratively toast.
I be well aware. But the path of true love, that'll be worth it. Curses.
GMs, it's on you to make sure that the situation and the stakes, including turning to toast, are as clear as possible. From the player's perspective, you don't need the best plan. Optimizing plans is as unfun to me as optimizing character builds. No plan survives contact with the enemy or the dice anyway, so by not overthinking things, everyone's a winner. If you have players who are over-analytical, make it clear that you're not going to punish every single misstep, at least if you're playing a narrativist game, like the kind I like to run. Worrying about making sub-optimal choices is something that a lot of people with a background playing D&D and similar systems maybe struggle with. Games where the narrative, where the story is the most important thing, have a completely different mindset. Examples of this would be Ironsworn and Starforged. Both of these have such interesting story mechanics that you end up willing your characters to get into worse and worse scrapes just in order to see how they get out of them and how the story itself will develop. If you have players who've just gotta catch them all, smash every barrel, collect all the shiny things, look around every corner before moving on, remind them that there is a story to be found in every direction, and it's okay if some questions remain unanswered. Those will be a source of fan theories and, ooh, I wonder what happened to that, for years and years to come. Sometimes you'll have players who have created characters who are timid or scared. That's an interesting move and a bold choice, but it can be tough to roleplay. But if you have players who are keen on doing this, encourage them to be like Piglet in Winnie the Pooh. He's scared of everything, but he still always comes along on adventures. Now, to make good plans happen reliably at your table, if your players are still stuck overthinking, it's probably because they think the situation ahead is way more complex than it is. Of course, you as GM know that that door isn't trapped, it's not even locked, and the room beyond is empty. So here is a way to communicate complexity without outright telling them the answers. Renegade Rolls is proud to present the Planning Time versus Complexity thingy. Working title. Complexity 0. A door. A perfectly normal wooden door. Stop it. We don't need a plan here. Let's move on. Complexity level number 1. Attacking an easy foe. Sneaking up on 5 goblins, busy having a snot-throwing contest. It's clear this won't be a difficult fight, it's not going to drain a whole load of resources. I wouldn't allow any more than maybe 2 minutes to do this. Complexity level number 2. Solving a dungeon puzzle with some deadly consequences, or attacking a well-matched foe, maybe a rival adventuring party. For this you'd want a bit of thought, maybe you can plan an ambush, maybe you can find your strengths and their weaknesses. 15 minutes of real time should be plenty for this. That's time for me to go and get that cup of tea. Complexity level number 3. Entering the Dark Citadel by any means necessary, attacking a deadly, intelligent foe. I'd say about half an hour of real-time planning for this. There really are high stakes, characters might die, but the conversation around it shouldn't dominate the entire evening's play. Complexity level number 4. Defending the city, coordinating the city watch from the pirate armada. For this, I'd allow 60 minutes of table time, split across 2 sessions, with 30 minutes in one session, some group texting time in between, and then 30 minutes the next session to confirm and make sure everything's right with the GM before you go. Complexity level number 5. 5D Vulcan chess against Asmodeus for the fate of the entire material plane. For such a big grand finale, I would allow a full session of planning time, plus additional messages between sessions. But when we get to crunch time, when we get to that big battle, the plan should be set in stone stone and we let the dice fall where they may. I mentioned specific times there, those are just my own ballpark figures. Your mileage may vary here. And also this might not be for every group, but if you're up for giving it a try, I'd love to hear how it goes. Please do comment below what you think of this and let me know how it goes at your tables. You can practice your speedy decision making skills right now if you like. This video is part of a trilogy about ways of speeding up your games. I've got one here on speeding up combat and another on something controversial, speeding up roleplay. I'll see you there. Cheers. That's just bubbles.